And I'd just like to welcome you this evening to our Together We Reignite event. I can't believe there's so many of you, and thank you. The conditions are awful, and we actually thought there'd be about half of this number here, so it's a real testament. Thank you. My name is Rachel Hook, and I'm a non-executive director at Scalare. First, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today, and that's the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Now, we're all going to talk a little bit, but I won't talk too long about me because we've got a packed schedule. But I've been on the board now for 2 years, and it has been an extremely exciting time. What I'm most excited about is the growth that we've seen in our investee companies. And also, I know Giles is going to touch on this, the quality of the companies that we have in our pipeline is quite incredible. And lastly, I'm just tremendously proud of all of these guys you see on the stage. They work tirelessly to really do their very best for all of our companies. So it's been an absolute joy working with them. But I'm hogging the mic. I really want to introduce you to our MC for this evening, Head of Community, Pernilla.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you for opening the ball. I said no Oscars jokes tonight.
And I listened to you.
She listened. There you go. We couldn't be happier to see you all here tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Can you believe it's been a whole year since we last came together? I mean, we almost forgot how to run an event. I'll be honest with you, it has taken us all day to get these name tags printed out for you. Tonight is all about reigniting that spark you feel when you come together with people, like-minded people, to network and hear about incredible opportunities. So what do we have in store for you? Well, firstly, we would like to reintroduce you to the Scalare team, because we've grown a little bit since you saw us last time. And the team, they're so excited to be sharing a few insights with you into our investment process, our hands-on investment and business advisory model, a special project we're working on, and our community efforts. Throughout the evening, you'll also be meeting some new members of the Scalare founder community and reconnect with some of the companies that you would have already have met through the Scalare network. They all have some quite exciting updates to share with you on their progress. But as we said, we have a jam-packed program, so our founders will only take the stage very briefly. However, rest assured, you will have ample opportunity to network with them afterwards over in our designated mini expo area. You know, got to start somewhere. Tonight, we're also going to entertain your intellect, as we've brought together a panel comprising a leading economist, a very passionate entrepreneurship advocate, and a leader on Asian Australian leadership. We hope that you will warmly welcome them and also dazzle them with your brilliant questions. Lastly, we will hear from founding partner Nick Roberts, who is going to lift the lid just a little bit on some of Scalare's future plans. And once the program concludes, we invite you to network over here, network over there, talk to the founders, talk to the teams, talk to each other. There will be further drinks, further appetizers. Speaking of drinks, the bar is open now, and it will be while we're up here. So go and get yourself a refreshment if you need to. But we know you guys too well. You get thirsty. But rest assured that the real party is going to be up here on stage for the next 90 minutes. So welcome. Let's hear it for the team.
Oh. Hi, my name's Giles Bourne. I'm one of the founding partners of Scalare. We founded this business just over 2 years ago on the basic principles of finding really interesting tech companies with passionate founders looking for scale, who help scaling, not just cash, but wanted deep technical experience. And that ethos hasn't changed. We're still doing that today, and it hasn't changed. We have a fantastic group of companies, and we continue to see lots and lots of really exciting companies along the way. I just want to just briefly talk about how we go through that process. Originally, it was through our network of just people we knew. And then since the last 2 years, we've got referrals from other companies. We've got our name out there, the brilliant work that Pernilla and Sarah have been doing through social media. We're now reasonably well known. And so we find we've got a huge pipeline of interesting companies we get to see. And the ones that we want to invest in really clearly stand out, where they can see the opportunity to get help, not just financial, but also assistance from us and our community, which has been super exciting. The way we review it is we meet once a week as an investment committee. We review everything in our pipeline, see what we've got, and then we talk about it, and then we go through a very sort of formal process, but it's a relatively quick process to get companies on board. And now we're at a point, I think we've got 16, so it's super exciting and a really big pipeline of interesting opportunities. That's all I want to say, and I'll hand over to James.
Great, I'll be even quicker. So we have invested in 16 companies and 4 in the last 3 months. So we're seeing lots of great founders and super supportive of that. But what a great time to be in a startup community, right? I mean, the amount of money that's been raised and invested in the last quarter is the highest in Australia. For the last quarter, it was 3.6 billion. So super exciting space. Government's doing a great job in New South Wales in fostering startups, and we're seeing a lot of that. So I couldn't think of a better industry to be involved in. And for an old guy like me, meeting young founders, it's awesome. Just keeps me young. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Jay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny, a partner at Scalare. For those who have followed our journey, you will remember right at the beginning, we said that transformation and growth takes more than money. Today, I'm very proud to share with you some of the progress we've made. So across our global network, we have so far introduced and connected around 25 subject experts with the companies that we back, ranging from advisor to part-time, full-time employees to board members. And also we took the opportunity recently to enhance our founder support program by introducing one-on-one tailored and solution-focused workshops to really help each founders to address the problems that they need to solve. So some of the classic examples would be funding roadmaps, milestones, tech review, financial modeling, building, taking your business in international expansion, you name a few. I suppose we really take the feedback from our founder seriously as we build the program to support them. And I can honestly say that we learn as much from the founder as they learn from us. So I think, it's very pleased to share with this group that the founders see us being a long-term trusted partner, that they know that we will and we can help them accelerate growth as well as scale the business. So we see some of this result and impact from the growth of the business that we back, as well as the valuation uplift. So over the last 2 years, just to make it simple, for every dollar we invested, we have seen on average a unrealized gain from the investment in excess of $3. And there's more to come, okay? This is just the beginning. So really want to take this opportunity, no pressure. But I really want to take this opportunity to say that a credit to all of the founders that we back. A lot of them are here with us today in the room, and there are a few more that are joining us remotely as well. So credit to you guys. But really also want to say a big thanks to all the members of the communities who getting involved and offer help. Without your help, without your involvement, we will not be able to achieve what we achieved today. So a big thanks to everyone. Last but not least, recently we also introduced a new initiative about 6 months ago called Be the Change to drive gender balance, cultural diversity as well as inclusion in this technology entrepreneurship space. So we will touch that a little bit more later today. But that is one reason, one of many, but that is one of many reasons why I really love being a part of the Scalare community, just having the opportunity to make big and small impacts every single day is really motivating. The message I want to leave with this group today is every single one of you can get involved. You can all contribute if you want to. And I really look forward to the networking opportunity later on. And I'm very happy to answer any questions you may have for us or for me, or simply just get to know each other better. So please enjoy the evening. Thanks.
Wow. Hard act to follow, really, isn't it? So I'm Nick Roberts, one of the founding partners of Scalare. I remember which business we work for. One of the things that when we set out this business was to be international. We wanted Scalare to be international. We wanted to invest in international businesses, and we wanted to help all our amazing founders become international. It's kind of been pretty tricky the last 2 years to even think about being international, hasn't it? I mean, even getting this group together has taken us, 12 months now. So that's a Sydney get together. So it's been kind of quite easy to take frankly, to take our eye off the ball on the international side. But, I guess today I'm here to give the message that we haven't. And as Giles touched on the investment process for us, and every opportunity we look at, we're very focused on international potential for the businesses we invest in. We recognise that happens at different speeds. Some of the companies you'll hear from tonight, some of our founders are kind of naturally international businesses from day one because that's where their customers are sitting. Some businesses have to prove themselves locally before they earn the right, if you like, to do the international journey. And that's a key part of what we do is really help through that decision making process. I think the really encouraging thing for us is that we are seeing some of that progress happening, and hopefully some of the founders will be happy to talk about some of the things they've been up to. But if I look at even at a high level in the last 6 months, one of the businesses we've invested in raised a Series A investment of $20 million for international expansion. Very significant transaction in the local market. One of the businesses in the last couple of months has raised $45 million to make an acquisition in the US, which is, very significant again. These are companies that are really growing quite quickly. A couple of the businesses we're working with have signed, significant commercial deals that are going to involve rollouts in Canada, US, South America. So there's a lot of activity going on, and actually across the portfolios, and a number of businesses are now selling into regularly seeing deals being announced in Hong Kong and across Asia. So whilst of course what we're doing here in Australia is super important for us, and we need to get that right with the founders. Actually, it's really exciting to see that we're flying the flag, not just the Scalare flag, but actually the flag of all the founders we work with around the world, and we're proud of that, and hopefully now we can actually start to get on the planes and do some proper travel. We'll see even more of that, and I have no doubt when we're sitting down here in 12 months' time, we'll have some really exciting international news to share. So just wanted to share some of that news. Again, credit goes to our founders, but we're super excited to be part of that journey.
Thank you. My name's Bo. Very different. I'm the newest sort of non-executive director in Scalare. Very different background to all of these guys. I have absolutely zero technology expertise, and one of my investee companies over there is laughing because he knows that's true. 5 years ago, I started a business that's effectively in the property lending to property developers. We wrote $510 million worth of loans up until today. Through that experience, I've had lots of relationships with ultra high net worth individuals over the years, and we kind of made a decision to move away from just specialising in lending and moving into the technology space. And for that, we needed training wheels, and very much for me, I've joined Scalare because these guys are the training wheels. These guys have the expertise, and we're super comfortable investing with these guys' help.
Hi, my name's Tim Griffiths. I am the newest partner in the Scalare. I like to call myself a technical elder. I am a hands-on geek, and I like to get deep down I do a fair bit of the diligence and help some of the portfolio companies with problems they're going through. And I'm looking at the emerging tech at the moment, a lot around blockchain, NFT. We've got one of the portfolios here today. A lot of low code, no code that's coming through. So, they hounded me for a while to come and join them. So I'm here. I haven't met many of you, but come and introduce yourselves. So some familiar faces in the room and some not so familiar, but happy to have a chat about anything geeky, and we'll go from there.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I am the newest member of Team Scalare. I have just over a month under my belt so far. So this is my first Scalare event, so it's really exciting for me to meet some of you guys. Some of you have seen on Zoom, so yeah, really great to be here. So my role is community manager, and I'll be working with Pernilla to kind of just enhance and grow all our communications, our content, working with investees as well with all of the challenges and so on, and seeing where we can help. So I was asked to speak just about my observations from the first month of working with tech founders. So Tim's laughing here. Don't know what you're thinking, Tim. But really, just a few things I've noticed, just amongst the people we're working with, just the innovation and the creativity is just brilliant. Also, the enthusiasm that everyone has, it's really infectious. You can feel it in the room tonight as well. Just really passionate people. And then also, I think the willingness to share and participate is great. You know, there's absolutely no hesitancy amongst our founders to just jump in, share, help each other, which is really, what I see the Scalare ethos is all about. So looking forward to meeting more of you tonight. And thanks for having me, Team Scalare.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we're going to just clear the stage. Nope, we're all good. Just go and have a seat and enjoy our next segment. I think I forgot my clicker over here. Well, while the team clears the set, allow me just to make a couple of comments on the Scalare community side. And the Scalare community, that's you guys, by the way. We continue to welcome some very high caliber advisors into our network, which is a real treat. So it's a treat for us to work with the entrepreneurs, and it's a treat for us to work with the advisors. We are making more and more matches every day between external advisors and our companies. They have a need, the advisors have a know-how. In the end, it just means that these companies are growing and propelling at a faster rate. As Nick also just touched on, we're incredibly thrilled about starting to build out more of an international network. And that is also just to broaden our reach and look at more opportunities. But really, it's with this first thing in mind, which is to help our founders get a stronger foothold once they start to expand their global footprint. Another thing I'm really thrilled about is the new partnerships we're starting to form with some like-minded companies who are going to help us reach even further with our Be the Change program. So please watch that space. Big things happening. But now, let's shift gears. I would like to introduce you to some new and some familiar faces from the Scalare portfolio. Now, here's another example of how the comms department cannot keep up. We have 15 tech companies, and they've just said we have 16. So we've got more work to do tomorrow. No, that's true. We continue to make investments all the time. Tonight you're going to hear from Together AI, from Helio and Cape. Then we're going to have our panel segment. Then you're going to hear from Slipstream Advantage, Stadio, MyPass, FlightCare Global, and Free Guides. Our newest founders on the block, who you've not yet met, will have a very generous 5 minutes on stage, while the others, sorry guys, You'll have 2 minutes. And we will be keeping time. As Bo mentioned, there is a company here that we have co-invested with Scalare, and we haven't publicly broken the news on this yet, so this is a world first. You heard it here first. I would very much like to welcome to the stage Josh Wilson from Together AI.
I really can't make fun of Bo about his technology capability after not working out how to turn that on, but I'm sure I will. Thank you to the Scalare team for investing and also for having us along tonight. I think as someone who's been around the traps a couple of times, it was probably one of the more enjoyable investment processes that I've actually gone through. I think the guys really spent a lot of time kind of getting to know me personally. I know that Tim, I think, welcomed the opportunity to wear a basketball singlet, which is my kind of go-to attire, to one of the DD meetings. So that was pretty special. But yeah, look, I'll quickly use my 5 minutes to great effect and just give a quick rundown of what we do at Together AI. So we're a mental health startup for families and children. So the problem that we're looking to solve is that of children and young people's mental health and well-being. I think anecdotally we all know that that's a problem. It's not just a problem for young people, but it is one that has been exacerbated by things like COVID, the increasing kind of proliferation of digital devices at younger and younger ages. And so I had a bit of time off in 2020, which is a whole other story, which a few people here may be familiar with. But I basically had the chance to kind of go back to the drawing board, having done a couple of startups before, and think about a problem that I really wanted to solve. And kids' mental health was one that was kind of personally very meaningful to me, having dealt with a bit of childhood trauma and anxiety growing up. I guess, as I said, anecdotally, we all know that kids' mental health is a real problem, but when you actually dig into the academic literature on it and understand how big a problem it is and how digital and devices are really kind of exacerbating that, it's actually quite scary. And it's scary. I'm not a parent yet that I know of. Yeah, I didn't say that. But I think, I guess when you kind of look at this kind of very concerning trend where the quality of kids' mental health is kind of going down, the rate of incidence is going up, and then you look at what's kind of the most important thing that families can do to actually prevent those type of things, and it's actually communication between parents or guardians and their children. And then you dig into the data on that and realise that 70% of parents feel that they struggle to communicate with their kids. It's actually quite terrifying. And so the problem that we're looking to solve at Together AI is helping families actually communicate more effectively about mental health and well-being. And so we invented basically a digital companion, which there's a few versions of that funny little fellow up there on the screen that kids can basically talk to about how they're feeling. So we know that kids prefer to communicate digitally these days, for better or worse. And so we basically built an AI capability that would allow them to create a companion that they could talk to, that would really help them and be there for them in those moments of needs, and we would then, instead of doing what a lot of the other kind of platforms out there, these parent monitoring platforms do, which is essentially use very poor technology to spy on children and eradicate trust between kids and their parents, we actually wanted to put the kid in the center of that user experience and build value for them. So I guess kind of the simple premise for Together AI is that a child can come into the app, create a digital companion that they can talk to about how they're feeling. That companion will then provide information and I guess the ability for the child to feel heard at that moment of need, and will also then provide insights back to the parent without breaching the trust of the child or the privacy of the child, that encourage that parent to take actionable next steps. So 1 minute left. So if a child is talking about, I'm feeling really anxious at school, the companion will be able to provide information back to that child that can help them navigate that, but he's also then prompting mum and dad to have a conversation about that with their child, and we'll actually facilitate that experience through that. And so in the couple of seconds I've got left, we launched it live about 7 weeks ago. We've got about 30,000 people on the platform already, spending a pretty small fraction of our marketing spend at the moment. We launched global day one, so we're set up to run in US, UK, Oz, Canada, and the 8th state of New Zealand. We've raised a fair bit of money, and our aim is to kind of have about 1 million families on platform over the next 3 years, and we look kind of well on track to do that. So, yeah, I think that's kind of it in 5 minutes. Thank you,
Josh. Thank you. Thank you. Well, next up, I would like to introduce you to Helio. Helio is founded by Laura and Peter Hall, and they would have loved to have been here tonight, but they are under very strict house arrest, as so many of us have been lately due to the dreaded COVID. But they have sent a video for us to play. Take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Peter, co-founder of Helio.
And I'm Laura Hall, co-founder of Helio. And we're very sorry that we couldn't be there with you all this evening, but grateful to be able to spend a couple of minutes introducing you to the Helio marketplace and telling you a little bit more about our journey over the last couple of years.
So what is Helio? Helio is an online B2B advertising marketplace, making the complex process of buying advertising for your business simple and easy.
So whilst the way we advertise has advanced massively over the last 2 decades, the way in which advertising is bought and sold has largely stood still. Buyers booking ads today must go on the long, arduous journey of speaking with multiple sellers, requesting information and negotiating pricing, all before they can book something in, repeating this over and over again with each advertising purchase. Meanwhile, with a more cluttered and fragmented landscape as new advertising channels have emerged, sellers struggle to fill their ad space with competition higher than ever before. And so we created Helio, the tool the industry has been waiting for. Fast, transparent, and available on any device, the Helio Smarter Advertising Marketplace gives buyers access to everything they need to make an advertising purchase in minutes and gives our sellers wider market access than ever before. And using Helio is as easy as using Airbnb or Booking.com. Set your search criteria, browse the available options, and book and pay securely all in one place.
We're going after a global market worth over $820 billion. We've just reached $1 million in GMV, and our business model sees us take 20% commission on all sales made. We are now moving into our second phase of product development, building product software to capture bigger marketing spend from our core customer segments and allow our sellers to auto onboard and manage their listings directly from a customized dashboard. This software will bring subscriptions into our revenue model, generating MRR across both sides of the marketplace, offering enormous opportunity for scale on a global level.
Helio is here to become the unifier of all advertising channels and modernize the manner in which advertising is bought and sold. We're here to build what we coin the Mediaverse, connecting the world's buyers and sellers of advertising, leveling the playing field to help all businesses grow.
Thanks for your time, everybody, and we hope to connect with you. If there's any interest in speaking to Laura and I, we're out of isolation next week. Please contact one of the Scalare staff who will put us in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Out of any situation, but let's see how he goes with 2 minutes on stage. I would like to introduce you to Ryan from Cape. Take it away. And just we're gonna make that. Is that on?
I can talk really loud.
There you go.
That helps. Okay, maybe here that'll do. I just want to reinforce the point that Josh said before. Going through the experience in terms of Scalare, being a founder is one thing, but then the support that we've had over the last 12 months, because I know that you guys all support them, I just want to say has been fantastic. And to do what we do wouldn't be possible without them. So big shout out to you guys, so thank you. I've bought 30 seconds today.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, to circle back to the point though, because there's a couple really interesting ones made by Nick and James earlier on. So Nick was making the point in terms of internationalization, and for us, we're focused on B2B spend. It's an enormous market out there. It's $133 trillion is spent globally. $133 trillion globally spent around the world every year. $2 trillion of that is actually spent on corporate cards. And interestingly, to James's point, wherever he is in the crowd, James was talking about the fantastic investment that we've seen coming through for startups, specifically in Australia recently. The problem that we've had, though, is the tools that startup use to actually manage their cash hasn't actually changed. And that's the thing that we're really focused on. So the positive thing, if there is such a positive thing when it comes to the pandemic, other than being able to sit in your pants at home and work behind the laptop, is the fact that everybody started working remotely, they started working in a hybrid fashion. And if you run a business, the tools that you use to actually manage who's spending what, where, when hadn't necessarily changed. And what we saw happen was an us and them fraction then kind of come through in terms of finance teams not necessarily wanting to empower their staff when they haven't actually, when they're not working alongside them. So what we focus on is providing visibility to finance teams, to business owners in terms of the transactions that are going through our corporate cards, and we're helping them get control by merchant categorization controls, which I know Sean McGinty in particular loves, so that if you decide that you don't want your staff going out down the pub spending money, then you can easily switch that off. So the shout out to anybody here is, if you want to get your hands on a corporate card, we are currently in beta after an 18-month build. And we haven't got 30,000 customers, unfortunately. We've got our first 10 customers that we onboarded last week, which we're super excited about, and we're rolling the beta program over the next 3 months. So if anybody's out there in the business interested to check out the beta program, give me a shout after this. Cool, thanks.
Thank you so much, Ryan. That was impressive. Now it is my absolute pleasure to give the stage to our panel and our panel chair for the evening. Rachel, over to you.
I could be under my phone.
Phone here, not for the one to look at it. I'm really conscious of time. Okay. I've got my questions. I feel a bit like Lee Sales. We've just heard about that. I think it's fair to say that the pandemic was a disruptor, and there's been negatives and there's been positives, like sitting at home in your pajamas working. I mean, we've seen so much disruption in the last few years, and that's a great opportunity, right, for the startup ecosystem. So, I kind of wanted to look at that and acknowledge that it's not all negative, and I think everybody in this room will kind of see that there are many positives coming out with new innovative companies disrupting. But for innovation to flourish, you do need a certain environment, and I think that's a space where you can share new ideas, but not just share them, be challenged on them, and be permitted to feel a bit uncomfortable and to think differently. So, when I think about it, it's no wonder then, it shouldn't be a surprise that diversity is one of the main keys to unlocking innovation. And we all know, because we're in this space, there's more investment in Australia into startups than ever before. In 2021, the capital investment tripled. But is the playing field even across all founders of gender, race, and culture? Well, sadly, the research is suggesting that it's not. So what steps can we take to achieve a more funding environment? And that's really what we're going to jump into and discuss here in this panel. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Joe Masters from Barrenjoey, from Jia-Young Loh, from ANU, the Centre of Asian Australian Leaders, and our own Jenny Lee. So I'll just give you a bit of a bio on each of them. Jo joined Barrenjoey as the chief economist in March this year, but before that she was chief economist at EY. Her passion for economics stems from her commitment to providing businesses with deep insights about the economy on a macro level and what it means to them. She's been part of the economic debate, not just in Australia, but globally, for 25 years. I can't believe that. Yeah. That was in your bio, 25 years. And she's a trusted advisor. She's a member of the Committee for Economic Development of Australia's Council on Economic Policy, as well as an executive member of the Australian Business Economist. She sits on the advisory board of the Financial Women's Index, and she's a very proud member of the community of Scalare. So welcome, Jo. Jia-Young Loh is the founding director of the Centre for Asian Australian Leadership, CAL, at ANU. It was established in 2020, and it aims to break the bamboo ceiling and address the significant underrepresentation of Asian Australians in leadership positions, both in Australia's public institutions and in the private corporate sector. And interestingly, I didn't know this, you had a few roles before that in public policy and project management, and you were a councillor for the city of Monash, and in fact, you were a deputy mayor. Welcome, Jia-Young Loh. You've met Jenny earlier this evening. She's a partner of Scalare, as you've heard. I can personally attest to the fact that she is a results-oriented finance leader. She's got a real wealth of experience and success in assisting startups. I'm looking at you here, Matt, who are undertaking rapid growth and change. She is absolutely passionate about speaking in celebration of social, economic, and cultural achievements of women in innovation. So please welcome the panel this evening. I think I'll start with you, Jo. A recent study by the RBA identifies a confidence gap in females as attributing to the low numbers of female economists that we have in this country. They've looked at a number of measures that could narrow this gap, and they've highlighted that they would actually like to have the next governor be female, which would be pretty awesome. Why is it so important that we have more women, more girls studying economics and going into this as a profession?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to commend the Reserve Bank. They're a very data-orientated institution that started off measuring what was happening, but have now delved into why is it happening, understanding why, and that is really critical, and it's critical anytime that you talk about inclusion and diversity. The reason it's so important in economics is in effect the same as it's important in any field of study, right? So we know that diversity of thought, not just gender diversity, but diversity of thought delivers better outcomes, delivers stronger profitability in corporates, it delivers better decisions, it delivers productivity enhancements. It's so critical in economics though, because economics is the policy lever that changes the world that you live in, right? So when we think about the Australia that we have today, I mean, it's a pretty good place to live, but could it be better? Yes. And I'm personally passionate about building an Australia that is more inclusive, more sustainable, more diverse, more green, more inclusive. And to do that, we need to have a diverse range of voices at the policy levers that we're pulling. And the most common economics graduate is male, Caucasian, private school. So it's not just a gender issue that we have in economics, it's actually right across the spectrum, a diversity issue.
Yeah, it's a good point there. It's a very interesting study, that one. But when we go back to kind of gender, we do have at least some evidence available to us that having a diversity in gender can improve and enhance the 3 Ps of, profit, performance, productivity. So, I think that helps us, and it helps shape the conversation, and it helps us go forward. And we still have a long way to go. But Jia-Yung, I'd like to hear from you about this. Are we in a position where we've got the kind of data that we need, for example, in the Asian Australian community? Oh, just have to play.
The short answer is no, Rachel. So in terms of data availability for ethnicity, cultural heritage, and race in Australia, it is actually quite poor, because we are the only English-speaking country. Many people may not know this, but we are the only English-speaking country that does not collect data on ethnicity and race in our census, as compared to our friends in the US, the Canadians, the Kiwis, the Brits, all ask that question as part of their census. We actually do not. In our census, we ask about ancestry, which is a little bit ambiguous. That's open for interpretation. We ask about country of birth. Again, you're excluding a large part of the culturally diverse community based on that. Languages spoken at home. We all know that a lot of 3rd, 4th, 5th generation Australians from ethnic and culturally diverse backgrounds don't speak another language other than English, so you don't actually capture that as well. So we don't actually have a lot of accurate data available for ethnicity, and when you don't have that data available, it is hard to develop economic trends or further research or economic modelling around what exactly and how does Asian Australians and Australians from diverse backgrounds contribute to the 3 Ps. So this is something that we're working at the Centre for Asian Australian Leadership in partnership with our friends at PwC, looking at the role of Asian Australians and ethnically diverse Australians. So the question we want to answer is, if you have more cultural diversity in leadership positions, how does that translate and impact the 3 Ps? So we're hoping to add some new data into that conversation.
So who
I have to jump in.
Yep.
For anyone that studied economics, the 3 Ps are population, product. Anyway, we're talking about different 3 Ps. We need more people studying
We're talking about 3 Ps, yeah.
Different 3 Ps. I think it is interesting, and I think, even when we look at gender issues, we've got that collection of data around the 3 Ps, but probably not going forward, not really tracking it and setting standards. So who's going to do that? Is that the private sector that will ultimately take on this role to implement processes and collect it and ensure that they're following due process on all of these fronts? Or is it something that government can bring in, much like they did with the WGEA Act around gender equality? Either of you, or Jenny, I'm getting to you in a minute. But
I'm happy to jump in. It has to be everyone, right? That's how you affect change. Government absolutely has a role to play. Private sector can nudge government and help government and move government in the right direction. And we're seeing that actually at the moment in the decarbonisation space, where really corporate Australia is dragging the government alongside them. So my own view would be that we need to start to encourage companies to collect the data that you're talking about among their own staff, to start to monitor that, to start to look at that. We know from the gender debate that when we started to measure it, when we started to set ambitions for it, and we measured progress and we put data and statistics behind it, we started to see real change. So companies have to do it. And when you see companies do it, then you morph into government starting to support it, whether that's through funding, including for the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and to lobby them around things like the census. And I totally agree with you. We also don't collect any data on Indigenous Australians, which is also very problematic in trying to improve living standards.
I would add, Joe, that it does require a mixed bag of approaches, both from government and non-government. But from the cultural diversity perspective, and I feel like it's really a bit of a chicken and egg scenario where governments are looking for the private sector to move first. They're saying, please get a couple of corporates to collect the data, do the economic modelling, work out whether this is a worthy investment for us to implement some policy measures. And then when you talk to the private sector, they're saying we need some guidance from government, some legislative guidance from government. So from a cultural diversity standpoint, we are sort of caught in the middle of seeing who would actually go first. Throughout my work, I'm finding out that the corporate sector is actually moving faster. Universities are very interested, which is why ANU has invested in our centre. And at the same time, we're hoping that through this, we could influence government to actually make that commitment. Because unfortunately, when it comes to the 4 areas of diversity, cultural diversity is still the very poor cousin of it, unfortunately.
So can I just ask a question? Do you find that companies who operate in countries that collect that data, or who collect that data themselves overseas, are they not doing it here in Australia? And if not, why not?
It all comes down to that question on ethnicity, because I think Australia is very concerned about that particular word. There is a historical sort of concern with that, because Australia is very nervous about talking about race. And this is something that we need to really break out of. And corporate Australia is having that conversation at the moment. Government is still trying to avoid it. Any conversation about race, they avoid. Whereas those countries like the US, like Canada, race is front and centre. And we experienced that with the pandemic when we saw a rise in Asian Australian hate. We saw Asian Americans and Asian Canadians really getting into the forefront of that. But in Australia, it's very stagnated. So I think it's that conversation. It's the dirty E word, ethnicity, and the dirty R word that they're afraid of talking about. So we need to have those conversations.
But is there at least a place for government to step in and lead the way? I'm just thinking, in the accelerator and incubator space where they might be dependent on government funding. So surely, having some kind of standard across the board that government mandates in that area would help.
So one thing that occurred to me just this week was actually when we have government contracts, we have quotas around how much of that has to go to small businesses. Presumably we could do the same thing, right?
You can, like for example, in the UK, any particular project from government above a certain amount, that particular company who's applying for that public tender has to demonstrate that their board and their senior leadership has a certain level of diversity and inclusion. So there are policies in place across other countries, but it's just not getting the traction here in Australia.
Yeah. I'd like to just move now to funding. The recent State of Australian Startup Funding report found 82% of female founders believe gender affected their ability to raise venture capital funding. Just 10% of female founders felt highly confident they would raise in their next funding round, compared to 63% of males. Jenny, companies such as ours, Scalare, we make daily decisions on which founders to back and therefore have a huge role in ensuring a level playing field. You're the drive behind Scalare's Be the Change initiative. Can you talk about why this is important, not just to a firm like ours, but to a firm like ours and others, and perhaps touch on some practical measures that we take to ensure that we have a diversified portfolio?
Absolutely. Why is this important? I think we've constantly hearing voice and feedback from this community that we all belong. So I use Catalyzer as example. So Catalyzer, the founders are not here with us today, but it's a business that was founded by 2 very bright female Asian lady, and is a fantastic technology. Well, they came to us June last year and say, look, it's really hard to find money and good money in Australia. They're even looking for funding sources outside Australia. And it's such a shame because, it's a business that can be born in Australia. It can open up the market. It can open up more employment opportunity. But, why are you facing all of this challenge? And we're very grateful that we met Andrea and Ivy because we had the opportunity to, get involved and be part of their growth journey. And they're very grateful for having someone like Scalare, for example, who are very much APAC focused and welcome that inclusion, and we're here to open a few doors for them and bridge a few gaps. So, hearing some of these examples that happens around us every day give us a very strong purpose and reason we think that we can create an impact. Again, that impact can be big, can be small, and we see ourselves being part of this ecosystem, and we want to directly contribute. So, and also hearing, our other business that we support, we start to collect data from them. It's very interesting that we're saying, who should be the driver, but somebody needs to start first, right? So, we ask our company that we back to share, their team dynamic and what real tangible benefit they see from having that inclusive environment in their leadership team. And, there's some real tangible benefit there. It introduce new perspective, it introduce new experience, they have very healthy debate to help, drive that decision. All of that contribute to bottom line, contribute to your growth, contribute to your staff loyalty, contribute to your valuation. So, so I think that's really powerful. And we want to continue this journey, and we want to work with the company that we back to, to spread that message. So far, we're at the start of our journey. We've only been around, Be the Change journey been around for about 6 months, but so far we've helped 4 companies of ours that really kind of increase their, to increase their focus and awareness around this area. So we introduced, female advisors, female NED, for example. We introduced people from different background, and we will continue to work with them and collect the data to see, what are the real impact over a period of time. But coming back to Scalare, we do the same as well. When we realize that there is a part that we can play. First of all, I have to thank the Scalare team. I know you guys are probably all around the room here. I thank the team for even giving me the opportunity to be a partner at Scalare. English is not my first language, and I'm a female, and it's not very common, I must say, that you see someone maybe like me to become a partner. So Scalare, I feel that personally, Scalare is leading by example. Thank you. If I look at our team, right, we're quite even. We have people coming from a few different countries, and our gender balance is quite even. And I looked at the actual impact that this creates. When we debate about our investment process, when we debate about our investment opportunity, all of these different voices and perspectives have been considered, and we can see the real impact. So, if we benefit from it, if our investing company benefit from it, then why can't we spread out some of that to the bigger ecosystem that we all belong to? So a few things that we've done so far. Again, we are still at the beginning of the journey. We've actually gone out to university, we've gone out to high school. So coming back to Joe's point, the why, right? It's not just what we observe, but what is the root cause and what little things that we can do. So we've gone to our next generation and start to share some example, maybe some, case study modeling to really encourage them that there are actually a lot more options out there when you think about building your career. Next generation is our future. We've spent a lot of time encouraging female founders or people from different countries to be more confident. The time pool, right? We try to collect some resources and really connect them with advisors who really been there, done that. So there's small things that we can help to, one, give them more direct, relevant information, and that support, within a very short period of time, and two, really open up the investment environment and opportunity. And even if you look at our investors, we also, going out and find more female investors to join Scalare, more female advisors and NED. So we're trying to do our little part to make that little difference there. Yep.
Yeah, really good points. And it kind of leads me into that next question. It's about fostering that space. And you touched on time constraints. And In a recent study, the state of Black women and women of colour founders in the Australian startup ecosystem by the Creative Cooperative, respondents actually identified the two main barriers in accessing funds were time constraints, 60% of respondents, and lack of information about funding. And yes, that cohort was Black women and women of colour, but I suspect this is, across the board. For all women and to those of other cultures and ethnicity. I suppose, we are doing this at Scalare and we offer, that full service package, but, it seems there is a need for this across all founders, but particularly for those underrepresented groups. Joe and Jae-young, do you want to talk a bit about the kind of startup incubators or accelerators that you think we need? Because one thing that I hear a lot is that from VC funds is they just don't have the deal flow coming through representative of the female founders and underrepresented groups. So do you think there's a place then to have specialist accelerators and provide this space and this forum to help with time constraints and to provide the information that founders need in relation to funding?
I might make a really big macro comment and leave the detail.
Well, you're the macroeconomist.
I'm the macroeconomist. How to fix that. When I hear you say that, when VC funds say, it's really, really hard because when I look around, there just aren't that many female opportunities. We used to say that about hiring females, right? So it disappoints me that we're now saying that about female founders, right? So get out there and find them, because what you're telling me is they're there, right? They're there. You're just not accessing them. So
work harder.
Work harder. Like, it's not just on female founders to find more time, to be more confident, to whatever else they need to do. It's also on those sort of venture capital people to make a decision to actively go out and make sure that they're finding them. It's like hiring. Make sure that your shortlist is 50-50. Standard practice now. And, recruiters don't like it because it's hard work.
True. Jae-young, did you want to chip in on that one?
No, I couldn't agree more, because I think what we're seeing over the last couple of months is an emergence of very targeted VC funds that are emerging from the scenes. I'm certainly seeing more female founder-driven funds for VCs who are specifically funding female founders. And this is really important because when I was actually flying up here from Melbourne, I saw this article in the Qantas magazine, and it quoted this very interesting piece of research in the US that found that female founders only received, I think, 0.05% of VC funding in 2017. But when we saw an increased investment into female founders, within a year, those companies were able to increase by 500% in terms of profitability, the 3 Ps pretty much. So they are there. They're absolutely there. So it's really about the investors themselves being more proactive, because if we don't find them, if we don't invest in them, we will lose them. We will lose them to overseas markets. They will take their ideas offshore and they will build those industries offshore. And again, this contributes to the great brain drain for Australia. And I'm seeing it across for a lot of Asian Australian founders as well. A lot of them are departing overseas, a lot of them heading into Asia, into the US, because that's where the investors are. That's where those markets are. And, speaking on the platform of these very specific diversity VC funds, as a side hustle, I'm trying to build a VC fund that specifically supports Asian Australian founders and entrepreneurs. For people who may not know, Australia, 14.5% of the Australian population has an Asian heritage. So to my 11-year-old self, I feel like telling to Pauline Hanson, you were right. But ultimately that's how great Australia is: diverse, inclusive, talented. Because if we don't invest in diversity, we will lose it.
Oh, here. Thank you. Yeah.
And maybe just let me quickly add to that.
Jenny.
In addition to funding, we also see more and more communities out there these days in this space are doing similar amazing thing. So I think we partner with a number of them to really encourage, that that gender balance and that inclusion in this particular space. So if we use Scalare as example, every single week, right? I mean, Giles touched on our investment, mandate and IC cycle. Every single week we see great business, coming to Scalare, led by female and or people from different cultural backgrounds. So yes, I think we certainly have a role to play, that we should go out there and look for those people. But I think ultimately it is really a joint effort that we can all play part. And for those that, for example, we decided not to invest right now for a number of reasons, that journey doesn't just stop there. We still spend time and we still, chat to these great founders and we still support them. There's so many other ways that, we can still play our part and share your knowledge and wisdom. So I encourage everyone to play our part. And if that is the focus, if that's the change that we want to drive, then we can all contribute to it.
Yeah, really good point. I'm getting the nod from Pernilla. I really want to touch on mentorship and role models here. Joe, going back to that Reserve Bank report, the bank clearly recognises the importance of the old adage, you can't be what you can't see. You're a senior economist. You've held many senior positions across banking and professional services. Have you yourself benefited from mentoring, and do you mentor others?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. For the record, I don't believe that you can't be what you can't see, but I think it's easier to be what you can see. I think when I started my career, mentoring wasn't such a formal thing, but when I reflect back on my career, I've definitely had mentors and sponsors, and there is a bit of a difference, and both are important. I currently, fortunately, have two mentors that bring different perspectives to my career, but certainly in the last probably seven to 10 years ago, that kind of mid-career piece, then it was really game-changing for me in opening my eyes to the opportunities and also encouraging me to believe that I was good enough. And I guess they're the two things that we talk about when we talk about the confidence gap. And I do mentor. I don't do as much one-on-one as I would like to do because I'm a bit time poor, but I'm very involved with, women in banking and finance. I'm having lunch tomorrow with our own Barrenjoey cadets who are at school or just finished school, and I love working with young people. I think we have so much to learn from them, and I think it's wonderful to be able to give back.
Absolutely. Jai-Yung, do you want to just touch on that as well?
I've had the benefit of having both mentors and sponsors. And I think for those who may not know the difference, my interpretation is a mentor is somebody who is there for you to share ideas with, someone to connect with, somebody who to seek guidance from. But a sponsor is somebody who would stick their neck out for you, put skin in the game, actually put their reputation on the line to further your aspirations and your ambitions. So I've had the benefit of both. I try to give back as much as I can, especially with the work that I'm doing with a lot of Asian Australian entrepreneurs, leaders, people who are, emerging leaders who are wanting to be entering into C-suite roles, entering into NED roles. The role that we do at our centre is not only to create the playing field, but also to provide the opportunities for them to deliver on those aspirations. So it's been a really enjoyable period for me. For example, I'm helping an ex-PwC partner who's recently written a book to try to promote that book across Australia. I told her, save your money on a publicist, I'll do it for you. You know what I mean? So I'll talk to my men. I'll send a link about the book. It's not published yet. So, but yeah, those are some of the things that I want to give back. And is essentially what a firm like Scalare does is exactly that. A mentor and a sponsor combined. Yeah. Not just investing, but also supporting them.
Yeah, and we extend that's the whole community that's doing that. Every one of you here, so many of you step up and do take these roles, which are so critical. Penilla's getting really cross with me now. Are there any questions from the audience for the panel this evening? I think we've got time for maybe one, if anybody's got pressing. If anyone's got a pressing question, please. No. Yes, sorry.
Struggle's not right, but where does that diversity, ethnicity, gender thing align. So sometimes I think it's a bit of a like that, and sometimes I think it's totally in line. And you guys have obviously supported each other tonight, but like the 45%, women are 50%. Like, what's the right bus to get on? Is there any stats about that?
The right bus to get on. Are you maybe referring to the intersectionality of the issues? Yeah. Jayung, you can take that one.
I think one of the key sort of policy gaps within Australia is that we don't have a very clear intersectional policy. I think diversity areas work across one another, but at the same time, they are in very much silos. So when I see diversity and inclusion, I see a number of quadrants. You've got ethnicity and race, you've got gender, you've got disability, you've got Indigenous, you've got young people, you've got, and I'm thinking also, they don't talk to each other, and that's the problem. And there's intersectionality within each and every one of them. So when government is creating a policy around disability, it's very sort of like one-dimensional. It doesn't focus on that sort of intersectionality, and that goes for other areas of diversity as well. With the gender debate, I mean, I learn a lot from the gender debate. I'm amazed and inspired by so many female champions like Jo, like Jenny, who are out there, calling this out. And this is one thing that I encourage people of diverse backgrounds, of ethnic diverse backgrounds to do the same thing. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and those giants are those gender advocates that we can learn a lot from. And I'm hoping they could learn some from us as well. So it's really about that conversation between each other, fostering greater intersectionality. That's how you invest in diversity.
Thank you, and thank you for that good question. I'm going to wrap it up. I'd just like everybody to join me in thanking this panel.
And as a little token of our appreciation, thank you so much for participating. And thank you so much, Jayung, for flying up from Melbourne as well. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Please give them a hand. Thank you so much. I don't know about you guys, but my brain definitely gets tickled when I hear about these guys talking. And just so you know, our panel briefing session went for a whole 90 minutes because we had the whole panel during the briefing session. So, yes, passionate people, and it's really cool to know that it's big issues, but we can all take small actions to help. Guys, we have another handful of great companies for you guys to meet. Earlier this week, we were able to publicly welcome Wade and Ryan from Slipstream Advantage to our founder community. And I'm really thrilled that they are here with us this evening to tell you a little bit about what goes on in the transport and logistics industry. Wade and Ryan? Please.
Thank you very much. I'm the Wade part of the Wade and Ryan, and this is Ryan at the front here, COO of the business. Special thank you, first off, to James Walker for the time and effort and activity and extensive due diligence process you put into our company, but also thank you very much for having us here tonight. Who is Slipstream, or what is Slipstream? We are a cloud-based transport management system. We provide software transport services to the transport logistics sector. We're not an end-of-mile company. We do the part that's the difficult and challenging yet profitable section in the middle. I was talking to my friend or neighbour, Mike Cannon-Brooks, trying to draw an analogy between his business and mine, except for the billions of dollars in profit. But they provide transport services. They provide software services for the purpose of project management. We provide software services for the purpose of planning and routing and execution of transport services. Falling back to my cheat sheet here. What makes this an opportunity at the moment is largely the industry pressures that these companies are facing. they're under an enormous pressure from a myriad of different sources. So let's look at the obvious things. Fuel price. A fuel price immediately comes off their bottom line and detracts from their profitability. We look at the other side about the lack of resources. Shutting a border is a good way, and sending everyone home is a good way of killing a business's ability to operate. We've got increasing taxes, increasing tolls, freight charges. Everything you could possibly imagine is going up, except for the one thing that they can profit from, which is actually coming down, is their fee for service. So they've forced themselves into this position where, without change, there's an inevitability or reduction in their business efficiency and operation, and therefore profit. So what we do is we provide them with the tools, the knowledge and the resources to turn them or transform them into a profitable company. So we do that, or the way we do it is by managing, automating and optimizing the transport services. As an example of a customer, the types of businesses that we focus on are those tier 2 operators. And what I mean by that is that if you can see the name on the side of the truck, they're probably the people that we're after. And as an example, one of those, Cameron's Transport Group, national carrier, we provide 100% of their load planning and optimization, delivering all their services into Woolworths. So it's a by no means feat, a small business, and it's a big, audacious task, but it's something we're up for the challenge. Where to next? We've got some exciting news. Obviously, being the newest, which is nice. There's a lot of firsts here tonight. Welcome to the Scalare team. Thank you. We're in the point of closing our IPO at the moment, and we've got some more exciting news in that we are signed with a broker today who's going to lead us into a IPO at the end of this year. So I'd like to say yes, thank you very much. The company is Lodge, and just looking around here for Brendan Sullivan. Oh, there we are. So thank you very much, sir. Welcome to our group, and vice versa. Ryan and I will be hovering around the corner over here to answer any questions and see if you'd like to come on the journey or anything else we can explain about the industry. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you so much.
And then we will begin with the IPO at the back end of the year. There is still an opportunity for our community members to participate in the IPO.
Then thank you to Neil for is our first founder as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for clarifying. Next up, I would like to introduce you guys to Stadio. The founders, Ash and Martin, were unable to be here this evening. Martin is over in Adelaide, and Ash has been traversing the globe and has come back with a virus, also known as COVID. So this is an example of Scalare really getting involved. We roll up
This is a perfect example of Scalare.
I've still got the other one underneath. So
being incredible mentors, though. So just while we're here, Tim, thank you so much for everything that you've done for us at Stadio so far.
Thank you. So I'm standing up here because Ash is in Brisbane with COVID. He's just got off a plane from LA. And Martin, the other co-founder, is in Adelaide and he couldn't make it up. But I'll give you a quick overview of what Stadio is. Stadio is a blockchain NFT play-to-win platform based around providing sports athletes the ability to manage their brand through NFTs. So we've backed it about just before Christmas, and the difference being is that it allows athletes as an individual to look after their brand as opposed to a particular league or any of the sports type that goes across it. Technically, I'm a little bit geeky. It is a blockchain-based platform based upon Polygon. We are producing, I think the first drop is 1st of May for the first level of NFTs. And after that, there will be a 3+3 game play to earn. That's as much as I'm going to say. We can have further discussions. Joe's going to be over in the corner there where it says Stadio. Joe Healy here is the head of marketing, everything.
Creative and
everything.
content,
She does everything.
I get to do the fun stuff.
So I'm now going to let Jo talk about exactly why, because she deals directly with the athletes, and she signed some really good ones over. You've just come back from the US, haven't you? So
We have,
yeah, she has. Yeah. So you get to do all the travelling. So I'm going to hand over to Jo, and then I'll morph back into
Thank you.
Scooby-Doo moment.
So as I said, I get to do the fun side of things in terms of the creative and content. So we've just put together a brand new studio in North Sydney, which will be interviewing the athletes that have come on board. As Tim mentioned, it's about empowering the athletes, which is really, really important to us. So first drop is the 1st of May. We've got some amazing athletes already signed up, a few basketball players here in Australia. I'm so excited to say we've just signed our first NBA and WNBA players. So Malik Beasley, who plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're about to be in the playoffs. And then Ty Young, who was a superstar for the Atlanta Dream and Las Vegas Aces as well. So tapping into those guys, someone like Ty, she's got 1 million plus people who follow her on social media. Her jersey's hanging in the rafters at the same high school as Michael Jordan went to as well. So from my point of view, I'm really excited about this because I get to sit next to her and speak to her and bring her story to all of you guys as well and the fans out there. So that's pretty much where we are. We've got a couple of NRL players as well, which is really exciting. So it's moving very, very quickly. We've got people banging down the door from the gaming side of things. I think just because it's so relatable, everybody these days seems to be gaming, but bringing that into the blockchain and the NFT space just adds another element to what we're doing. So yeah, appreciate everything that Scalare have done for us, Tim as well. And yeah, if anyone wants to find out more, we'll be over in the mini expo section.
Thank you so much, Jo. Thank you for coming tonight. And yes, we all do want to find out more. Our vocabulary is rapidly developing in this NFT blockchain space. And now I'd like to introduce you to maybe a more familiar face. His name is Matt Smith. He runs a little company called MyPath. And just because you know him does not mean that we're not super grateful for him taking time out as well at a critical point in time of scaling his business to come and talk to you guys tonight. Thank you, Matt.
Cool. Thanks, Pamela. I just noticed that was pre-COVID here up there. So yeah, and thanks for having me, Scalare. It's awesome to see a startup helping startups, which I think is even more harder than being a startup because you got to deal with 16 of them at once. So yeah, hats off to you guys. So MyPass, for those of you who don't know, a digital skills passport to help organisations reduce the risk and cost of managing their site-based workers. So for us, it's all about helping companies in highly regulated sectors to reduce the risk of having workers not having the right skills at the right time performing their tasks. So customer base, we've got over 500 customers. They include a lot in the energy resources sector like Woodside, Chevron, just landed BHP, which is a pretty big deal for us. Also, yeah, thank you. And also moving into other sectors now too. So we're working with Volunteering Victoria to create volunteer hubs and also moving into health and aged care. So connections, referrals, welcome there. Team, we've been growing quite a lot, just under 80 people at the moment. So yeah, growing pretty fast. We've got about another 30 hires over the next quarter we're going for at the moment. Some pretty big wins in terms of people we're bringing on board. So thanks to the Scalare network, brought on our Chief Operating Officer, a lady called Claire Virtue, who's been fantastic. So that's the power of the Scalare network. And also Jason Van, who happens to be sitting here through another one of our investors, Electus, who's our commercial CTO and humble guy, but in my opinion, one of the best CTOs in the country. Happened to build a small company called Afterpay in terms of their technology and about another 20 other companies after that. So thanks, Jason, for coming on board. First official full day next week, so we've been working together for 6 months. So in terms of our sort of game plan at the moment, we're sort of making sure we're fit for growth, essentially, by building out our Australian base before we get too excited about overseas. We've got a few flags in the ground. We'll be getting through customers expanding with us into Canada and BHP rolling us out in South America. But yeah, we just want to make sure we get the right people in the right place. So another ask, if anyone knows any really good directors of product or head of product, that's one role we're looking for, a CFO, demand gen specialist, and also sales exec. Kind of 4 out of those 30. So I just know good people come through the network. So I thought I'd put that plug out there as well. And then in terms of the financial side, we're just sort of doing a round later on this year before we get serious about a Series A. So again, it works well for us to have smart money or strategic investors. The round may get taken up with existing investors, but we may be looking for 2 or 3 sort of strategics that can help beyond just money. So, and again, from a Scalare point of view, those of you interested in how your investment's been, when Scalare started with us, we're sort of 3 times the revenue and hopefully 3 times the value since then in the last 18 months. So yeah, certainly grateful for the impact that Scalare communities bringing. And I will pull out 2 names that haven't come out yet. So Jenny, the official name is The Force, Jenny The Force Lee. And Nick, the real deal, Roberts. So they didn't actually get mentioned this time. So those are their official taglines from the last Scalare event. So thank you guys as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. That was great to hear. That was great to hear. And now coming in for landing is Simon May from Flight Care Global, a company which, as the name suggests, was born to be global. And we've really been looking forward, Simon, to hearing about what goes on in the wide world of aviation.
Well, we're just getting back to it now, aren't we? That's the thing. So thank you to the Scalare community. Thanks to Scalare for your support, and thanks for having us here again tonight. So Flight Care Global, for those of you that don't know, we're a B2B SaaS platform that connects operators of aircraft to medical decision support and referral when their passengers and staff get sick wherever they are in the world. So we're playing in a market that has been dominated by about 30 years by a single dominant player. That market is about 70% untapped, so about 30% of the market is covered. What we're aiming to do is to digitalize what is really a very manual, people-driven process. Our platform went live to our launch customers in the 4th quarter of last year. Those customers are all in business and private aviation, so high net worth individuals with their own aircraft who've got a duty of care to their staff and passengers. We've got a good sales pipeline into 2022. We're seeing good revenue growth. Really, what has really amazed us as a young company is the response that we've had when we've shown our product to the big end of town, the commercial airlines. We're running a trial with a commercial airline through 2022, and we've also been asked to tender for services to a large international airline at the end of this year. So we really need to scale, and we really need to get our act together in the second half of the year to look after these big airlines. So if any of you are interested in finding out more, I'll be over in the breakout area, and one of our non-executive directors, Andy Beer, is also here in support as well. So thanks, Andy. And I'll probably leave it there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Simon. Yes. Please go and visit Flight Care Global and have a chat. Now I would like to welcome our last company of the evening, the cherry on top, Daniel from Free Guides. He is no stranger to this stage. In fact, he has won many pitch competitions on this stage. But Daniel, tonight is not a competition. Take it away.
Thank you, Pernilla. So thank you everyone for coming today. So I'm Daniel, founder of Free Guides, and my brother, tech co-founder. The industry has changed forever. The exploration and the way that people get around will never be the same. And that's what I realized. I realized that there were 2 problems. Number 1, that people were looking for curated experiences, things that they actually wanted to go on the time that they wanted to go on it. And that was driven from social media such as TikTok. Second, that people wanted to actually see the things, that COVID affected the world forever, that the way that people travel will never be the same. So what we did is we created 3 products. Number 1, our mobile application, where people can download our app anywhere in the world and find experiences specifically for them. Number 2, our web app, which is designed for locals, organizations, and governments to create self-guided experiences that they can monetize themselves. And then number 3, our recommendation algorithm, which collects over 60 different criteria and data points on each individual. So regardless of where it's me, and I love to walk, so it shows me the Bondi to Coogee walk, or if it's my grandfather, and it shows him the best wine experiences in Surrey Hills. And we've seen a lot of growth. We launched during COVID with the help of Scalare, And originally we had 100 experiences. We now have 1,100 throughout the world in 13 different countries and 4 different languages. But what's exciting is that we can make money in multiple different ways. Number one, we have our model, which was how we first got our investment, which is pay what you want, where it meets anyone's budget and they can choose their initial amount. Number two, we have paid experiences, where you can include different services. Let's say you're a museum or Taronga Zoo, where you actually book to go to Taronga Zoo and then you use free guides to go on that experience. We recently launched Experiences as a Service as well, which is where we partner with organizations and governments to create experiences for them. So our newest partnership is with New South Wales Government and Tech Central, where we're bringing people back to the city. And then that ties in perfectly with our fourth revenue service, which is Boost, which is where they can pay for their experience to be shown to more people. So we're currently, with the help of Scalare and some of our amazing investors that are already in the room here, we are raising $1 million, and that's going to help expedite our growth. It's going to help monetize our existing and future customers. And finally, it's going to refine the tools that we've already started building for our B2B and government clients. So if you're interested in speaking to me, please speak to me or my brother in our booth just over there. I was up all night packing our bags with lots of different merch. So please, if you leave, when you leave, take some merch with you, please, because it's going to be very hard to bring it upstairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. That's almost it for tonight, guys. We have a few additional comments from, please welcome to the stage, Nick, the real deal Roberts.
No pressure at all. Not only the real deal, but I can already see people gathering around the bar because they know that I am the last man standing before we get there. So I was going to spend a couple of minutes talking about plans for this year, which I guess we're already well into this year. I mean, I think as would have hopefully been clear to everyone as we discussed tonight, there are really 3 things as a business we look to do super well. One is identify talented founders with big ideas and a level of traction in their businesses. The second is to, as I think we've heard tonight, to wrap our arms around them in a helpful way and really help them on that journey. And that really comes down a lot to the community, to the people in the room today. And the third is to help on the funding journey. I mean, obviously, growth generally requires investment up front, and that's a key part of what all these founders are looking to do in terms of hit the milestones, raise the money, hit the milestones, and keep on going. So it'll come no surprise. We're pretty pleased with what we've achieved in a couple of years, and as Jenny said earlier, I think there's some real evidence coming through in terms of the valuations of the businesses we're working with. There's a lot that still haven't yet to be marked to market in terms of where they're at, but there's a lot of progress there. But when we look at this year, we need to do the same things and keep on doing them better, frankly, not unlike all of the businesses we work with. So when we look at the founder side, we've talked a lot about the diversity today, and we already see through the returns we're getting, diversity around industries of the businesses we work in. You're hearing there's a lot of very different businesses here, but all trying to solve similar challenges. We're seeing the benefit of that diversity, but clearly we want to see more, and we've talked a lot about the benefits that we think diversity will bring to us as a business, and I think that that increasingly through the founders, identifying founders, and the panel talked today about we've got to go out and find them. Scalare is a small business. We don't have thousands of people to go out and find, so we're doing our bit. But the way that we find great companies is through our network, and it's through people here today. I think if it's not 100%, it's probably 90% of the businesses that we've invested in have come either through founder introduction, an introduction from a member of our community, or people we know. And that's, frankly, that's the way we want it to stay that way, because those kind of introductions are super useful. But it means that we need, to start to drive this diversity, we need everyone to help play a part in that. We're going to grow the community, but we need the community to help us grow that. So focus on founders. You can all be play a big part in helping us do that. Second area, we talked about community. I think Jenny talked about some of the roles we've filled for some of the companies we're working with. That's expanding every year. We talked about international. More of our businesses are going international now. We're facing different challenges. We're looking for more full-time hires. Some project-based work that we're probably doing the last 12 months. As Matt said, now these companies are looking to fill roles, and again, our community is critical to that. So we're going to keep on looking to grow the community, but please make sure you put your hands up if you've got time or willingness to help. Sarah and Pernilla do a great job for us matching founders and the community. But if we don't know that you're available, or we don't know you've got the time, or we don't know your circumstances have changed, then we can miss out on some of those opportunities. So please make sure you keep us up to date with where you're at and what you can do to help. And if you know other people that can help, then that'd be absolutely brilliant. The final area is talking about funding, and as you'd know, our Scalare model is really predicated on we invest early. We try and spot talent before anyone else does. We help those founders on the journey, and then we all, the founders, Scalare's investors, we all benefit from other investors coming in and putting a new price tag on a business that is growing. I think probably the biggest frustration for us as a business at Scalare is that we're not funded for follow-on funding. And those of you who are sort of familiar with some of the venture models out there, you'd see some of the big venture companies in Australia are raising much more money now for their follow-on rounds than they are for their seed rounds. And if you look at the stats, and it comes up, Blackbird actually publicize that now a huge percentage of their returns are coming from, in their case, one company. That's generated them a lot, but and actually quite a lot of the VCs will have that same company. But so there's a model there of if you find, and a female founder, but you find a winner, you keep on backing it the whole way through, and that's clearly a model that works. And at the moment, it's a model that really frustrates us because we've found a whole load of winners. We write that first check, and then obviously the community comes in and hopefully benefits from some of the future rounds. But that I think the big change that we hope to sort of teasing it out because we haven't got an announcement to make yet, but watch this space. I think that's one of the areas where we feel we're so uniquely positioned. We know these businesses really well. We're working super close to them. So, if anyone's in a position to know that these businesses are destined for greatness, it's us. And we want to be able to put more capital to work to follow that journey much further down. So watch the space on that side. I think that's one area where we hope to be able to make some good announcements that should excite our founders. Lots of them will be looking for money this year, and we want to be able to help. Obviously alongside the partners and Scalare members as well. So it's very nearly beer time. I think Pernilla's going to give us the final marching instructions now, and then look forward to seeing you all at the mini expo or in the bar or both.
Thank you so much, Nick. And Sarah, could you come up here, please? Yeah. On behalf of the team, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope that the pitches have piqued your interest and that you will, in fact, visit our companies over here, and that you will proceed to have some more appetizers, drinks, get to know each other, have a good time. We have the facilities until 9 p.m. The bar will close about 15 minutes prior to our departure time. So please keep that in mind. One last comment before we leave. I'd really like to give a big thanks to our new community manager, Sarah, who has just been with us for a month, and we threw her right into organizing this grand event. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.